right, so we're diving into Wuthering Heights today. Ready to tackle this one?
Oh, definitely. It's a classic for a reason, right?
Absolutely. And it's so much more than just a love story.
Yeah.
There's those themes of revenge and social class,
Yeah.
all tangled up in that wild setting and, well, that crazy narrative structure, too.
Yeah, you don't get a straightforward story, that's for sure.
No, not at all. So how about we start with the setting? I mean, the Yorkshire moors, they're practically a character themselves.
Right. Desolate, windswept, you can practically feel the wildness seeping off the page.
And smack in the middle of that, you've got these two houses, Wuthering Heights,
dark, brooding,
and then there's Thrushcross Grange. Completely different vibe.
refined, comfortable. Yeah, the contrast between those two houses really sets the stage for all the drama.
For sure. And then Emily Brontë just throws us right into it with that unusual storytelling.
Oh, yeah. It's like a story within a story.
Exactly. We start with Lockwood.
The outsider.
He rents Thrushcross Grange, gets all intrigued by those mysterious folks living next door at Wuthering Heights.
And through him, we get the real story. It's like we're eavesdropping, right?
Totally. All those secrets and scandals spilled out through the housekeeper, Nellie Dean. She's the one who really tells the tale.
And what a tale it is. We go back in time and meet the Earnshaw family. They're the ones who lived at Wuthering Heights originally.
Windley.
Yeah.
He's got that whole brooding, resentful thing going on.
Yeah. And then there's Catherine, his sister. She's got passion, that's for sure. But then their whole world changes when Mr. Earnshaw brings home Heathcliff.
Ah, Heathcliff.
Yeah.
He's like the ultimate Byronic hero, right? Mysterious, magnetic.
Totally. He and Catherine form this incredibly intense bond.
Running wild on those moors, right? Two against the world.
But of course, things get complicated. Social differences, societal expectations, it's all stacked against them.
It makes you think about how much social class mattered back then.
It was everything.
It drove so many decisions. Like Catherine, she feels that pull toward stability, respectability, and ultimately she makes a choice. She chooses to marry Edgar Linton from, guess where? Thrushcross Grange.
It's heartbreaking.
I know. Leaving Heathcliff absolutely devastated and, well, you know what happens next? He's consumed by revenge.
It's like a switch flips in him, right? He becomes almost tyrannical, using Hindley's weaknesses to take over Wuthering Heights.
And poor Hareton, Hindley's son, he really suffers under Heathcliff's rule.
It's brutal. And then there's Isabella Linton, Edgar's sister. Heathcliff marries her, but it's just another way for him to get back at everyone.
So much misery all tied up in those tangled relationships.
Exactly. The first generation becomes trapped in this cycle of pain. It's really intense. And Brontë doesn't hold back on those Gothic elements either. They just add to that feeling of doom.
Yeah, the houses are literally crumbling, the weather's always stormy, and then there are the ghosts, right?
Like Lockwood's nightmare. He sees Catherine's ghost at the window, scratching to get in. I mean, can you imagine?
Talk about chilling. Brontë really knew how to create an atmosphere.
Absolutely. She makes you feel the wildness, the intensity, the danger. But it's not just the Gothic elements. She also uses this clever dual timeline structure.
Right, so we're constantly shifting between Lockwood's present-day experiences.
And Nellie's stories of the past.
It's like we're putting a puzzle together alongside Lockwood, trying to make sense of it all.
And those relationships. Intense doesn't even begin to cover it.
It just makes you want to keep reading, you know? Figure out what happens next.
And how the past is going to come back to haunt everyone.
Because you know it will. It always does.
Yeah.
Especially in Wuthering Heights.
And then we have the second generation, right? They get drawn into this whole mess, too. Kathy, Catherine's daughter, she grows up in that sheltered world of Thrushcross Grange. But she's drawn to Hareton. He's rough around the edges, thanks to Heathcliff. But deep down, he's got a good heart.
It's like a little spark of hope, right? Maybe, just maybe, love can conquer all that darkness.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But Heathcliff, he's not letting go of his control that easily. Not a chance.
No, he's got plans. And his son, Linton, he's part of those plans.
Oh, Linton. He's sickly, and unfortunately, he takes after his father in some ways. That manipulative side, it's there. But you can also see he wants connection, too. He's just terrified of Heathcliff.
Caught between a rock and a hard place, right? And Kathy, bless her heart, she tries to help both of them, Linton and Hareton.
He's got such a kind heart, but all she gets is manipulation and resistance. It's tough to watch.
Really is. And this is where Bronte's characters just shine. They're not simple, you know, not just heroes and villains. They're real people, all messed up by their past, driven by love, by pain, longing for something more.
Exactly. Like Heathcliff, he's this dark, vengeful figure, but there's still that flicker of love for Catherine. You can see it.
That complexity is what makes him so fascinating, I think. You can almost understand him, his anger, that deep pain. But his actions, they're brutal, unforgiving. It's like he's trapped by his own need for revenge.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? What if Catherine had chosen him? Could things have been different? Would their love have actually had a chance? Or was it doomed from the start?
I don't know. People have been debating that for ages, haven't they? Bronte doesn't give us easy answers. Instead, she leaves us grappling with human nature, with obsession, with the past, and how it hangs on, even when you try to let go.
We were talking about those Gothic elements earlier. It's more than just spooky stuff, right? It all adds to the feeling of the story.
Oh, definitely. It's like those Gothic elements make everything more intense. The moors, those crumbling houses, the ghosts. They all point to this sense of doom, like something bad's about to happen.
It's like the landscape itself mirrors how the characters feel inside, all that turmoil, the darkness, the isolation.
Exactly. And Bronte's language. So vivid, so powerful. You're right there on the moors with them. You can practically feel the wind, the tension.
She draws you right into their world. You're not just reading about it, you're living it, feeling their joy, their sorrow. It's intense.
So we've got these big, powerful characters, all these emotions, that Gothic atmosphere. But there's also Bronte's skill as a storyteller. That dual timeline, jumping back and forth between the past and the present, it just keeps you hooked.
Like you're trying to solve a mystery. And every time you think you've got it figured out, something else pops up.
And the more you learn, the more complicated it gets.
All those relationships, all that baggage from the past, it affects everything.
It's not just about love and revenge, though. It's about what it means to be human. How the choices we make don't just affect us, they ripple out and touch everyone around us.
And can we ever escape the past? Can we break free from all that hurt, all that anger that gets passed down?
Tough questions. But Bronte does offer some hope. There are glimpses of redemption. Maybe, just maybe, love can win out in the end.
It shows how talented she was. To create a story this complex, this layered, it stays with you long after you finish reading.
Wuthering Heights has definitely made its mark on literature. It's a classic, for a reason. But why do you think it's still so powerful? Why do we keep coming back to it?
I mean, think about when it was published. It was so different from what people were reading back then. All that raw passion, the revenge, the social conflicts Bronte brought up. She wasn't afraid to shake things up.
And her characters. They're flawed, complicated, not those perfect, idealized characters you usually saw in Victorian novels. Must have been quite a shock for some readers.
Oh, absolutely. And don't forget, she published it under a male pen name, Ellis Bell.
Can you imagine the reaction when everyone found out the author was a woman? Talk about breaking barriers.
It totally paved the way for other women writers to tell their stories, to explore those darker, more unconventional themes.
And it's amazing how Wuthering Heights has become part of our culture.
Yeah.
All those adaptations, movies, plays, even that Kate Bush song. It's iconic. Why do you think it still captures our imagination after all these years?
It's a combination of things, I think. Those themes, they're timeless. Love, revenge, social barriers, we still deal with those things today. And the characters, they're just unforgettable, especially Heathcliff.
He's like the ultimate brooding hero, right? That whole dark, passionate, dangerous vibe. People are drawn to that. And Catherine, too, she's caught between what she wants and what society expects of her. Their story, it just stays with you.
Yeah, Heathcliff's become an archetype, hasn't he, that Byronic hero? All that passion and danger. And Catherine, she's just as compelling. You can't help but be fascinated by their love story, even though it's so tragic.
And what about its relevance today? I mean, it's a story set way back in the 1800s on those bleak Yorkshire moors. What does it have to say to us now?
More than you might think. The themes that Bronte explores, they're still relevant. We're still dealing with social inequalities, with prejudice, with the complexities of love and relationships. People haven't really changed that much, have they?
It makes you think about nature versus nurture, too. I mean, Heathcliff, he had such a rough childhood. All that trauma really shaped him. It makes you think about how our past experiences can affect us.
Right, like how much of who we are is determined by our circumstances. And how much choice do we really have? Especially when it comes to things like revenge. It's like, is Heathcliff just a victim? Or does he choose to go down that dark path?
Bronte doesn't make it easy for us. It's complicated. It makes you think about how you judge other people, how those societal forces can really hold people back.
It's not a light and fluffy read, that's for sure.
No, it definitely makes you think, pushes you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
But that's what good literature does, right? Makes you question things.
Exactly. It's not about getting answers. It's about starting those important conversations.
So,
Here at the end of our deep dive into Wuthering Heights, we want to leave you with one final thought. What if Catherine had chosen Heathcliff? What if she defied all those societal expectations? Could their love have survived? Or was it doomed from the start? It's something to think about, isn't it? That's the power of Bronte's writing. It stays with you. It makes you think. We hope you'll revisit the novel, maybe see it in a new light. Or, if you've never read it, now's the time. And until next time, keep exploring those great books.